Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Come get some.
Hello, welcome back to A Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to The Boring Company. Thank you for joining the video, and yeah, we've got an interesting topic to talk about today. So, I've been predicting this for quite a while, but I think this update is long overdue. We are anticipating, or I am anticipating, and a lot of supporters of the Boring Company are anticipating, a very significant upgrade to Prufrock, which we will see in Prufrock 4. Why do we think an update is coming to Prufrock 4? The main reason is that over the last 3.5-4 years, we've not seen the Boring Company achieve one of their core missions or core goals, which is continuous mining. Now, the process of continuous mining ultimately means that your TBM is able to assemble concrete segments and bore through the strata at the same time. This is currently not an easy task, and most TBMs don't do this. They like to keep things very, very simple, and for that reason they are limited to 20-25 meters per day if everything goes perfectly well. So the Boring Company, if it wants to be a success, has to achieve continuous mining. There is no other way that they can achieve big numbers when it comes to mining, because there's no other way of doing it. It simply isn't a possibility to do 100 meters per day without continuous mining. It just cannot happen. And the Boring Company has been working on this, and it looks like they're going to make a very significant change. Very, very significant change. Because there's only really two ways of doing this. I'm going to explore those in a minute. So, just like the Raptor engine, which recently received another upgrade up to V3, Prufrock is on a path of continuous improvement, iterative design. So they're constantly looking at improving things, making changes that iteratively add up and ultimately lead to the best boring machine, tunnel boring machine in the world. We are still several months away from continuous mining. They've never, ever achieved it. Granted, the previous 2 generations of the machine had significant maintenance and reliability issues, and they have made improvements, but it's not really as good as what it needs to be. And it looks like they should make a significant step change in the next one. That will mean those 2 issues go away. But we've still not achieved continuous mining. And the strategy for continuous mining is really hard to pinpoint, because the Boring Company doesn't tell you what it's doing, and there's no obvious signs from looking at the machine externally that they have kind of a singular method of doing this. It's difficult to say, but Prufrock 3 cannot tunnel and assemble concurrently, and it desperately needs to do that, because without that, basically this entire company might as well pack up and go home, because that is the holy grail. Now, some TBMs are able to do that, but it might only be for a period of 2 to 3 hours before something changes, and then they have to reset the machine, and it takes quite a while before they then get back to doing something that resembles continuous mining. So it's really never ever been achieved other than using maybe a method like pipejacking. Now, pipejacking is typically used for tunnels or conduits that are less than 6 foot 8 inches in diameter. You'll rarely see it bigger than that, but they use a completely different method, and it doesn't scale upwards, i.e. if you increase the diameter, you massively increase the amount of force that you need to use at the rear of the machine to push the concrete lining forward, and thus when you get above 7-8 foot, the financial viability of pipejacking becomes basically a lot worse than your typical TBM. Now, they did have a good look at hexagonal segments. I love hexagonal segments. I thought that was the path forward in combination with what I referred to as a bridging piece, or a means of going back to traditional trapezoidal segments, then going back to hexagonal, and it would allow you to go very fast in a straight line, which is often what they're doing for the vast majority of the system. Thus, after maintenance, so you're looking at around 6, maybe 7 hours of maintenance in a typical day. Obviously, this depends on various factors, but maybe one day it's 4 hours, maybe the next day it's 8 hours, but you're looking at around 6 to 7 hours of maintenance. Your typical TBM from the Boring Company is limited to a tunnelling for 11 hours per day. So less than half the day is spent actually tunnelling through the ground, and obviously that has a massive causes massive limitations for the potential top speed of any machine that you build. So all in all, not too good, but there is a clear way forward, and by eliminating all the other options, by eliminating hexagonal segments, by eliminating a method similar to pipejacking, you have to come to one conclusion, and that conclusion is this: gripper TBMs. Now, they are used by other companies, but there is definitely inefficiencies in how they do it with such huge, massive machines and overcomplicated hydraulic systems that don't actually work in unison with the front of the machine. And with a bit of tinkering, you could create a brand new system, potentially with more grip issues than this, or larger surface area, that would enable you to mine for 16, maybe even 17 hours per day, so the vast majority of the day. I have not seen any signs. This is a purely speculation on my behalf, because I've gone through the options and had a look at potentially what the Boring Company could do to achieve continuous mining, and with the elimination of hexagonal segments, ultimately one option remains on the table, and that is these gripper units. Now, one drawback of gripper units is they do not work in soft ground. Even heavily fractured ground, there are problems there. But the design of gripper TBMs has largely remained the same for the last 20 years. And there are definitely improvements to be made by simplifying the system and increasing the potential power. So, it has got to be, must be, the way that the Boring Company moves forward. If this option is also ruled out, I really cannot fathom how they will achieve continuous mining. And again, I've looked at TBMs that are in Bastrop in Texas and in Las Vegas, and there are no signs of a gripper unit. But I suspect there is a major upgrade coming, and we know they're fabricating a machine at this very moment in Texas, and it looks like it's going to be a lot more complex. So that would indicate that maybe they are adding an additional hydraulic system to support a gripper TBM. So this is the cross section of our gripper TBM. As you can see, the hydraulics move out the shoes and they apply pressure to the outside of the excavation. Always remember the excavation opening is always larger in diameter than the actual concrete segments. So you have what is called an annular, which can be anywhere from 5mm to 30mm, and then you fill that with a grout or something similar to a mortar, but the technical term is grout. So these come out on both sides. It applies pressure to the the outside face of the excavation. This then allows you to push the machine forward, as you can see here. And once you get to the maximum extension of your hydraulic arms, you can then use the existing thrust cylinders whilst you reset this gripper unit. Now that today takes quite a while, but I'm guessing that with a little bit more confidence in the system that they're using, you could potentially reset this gripper shoe every 15 to 20 minutes rather than it taking well over an hour. I think the Boring Company has the talent and the wherewithal to make that happen. It's worth noting that this obviously does add some complexity to the TBM and also increase the cost. But in the kind of large scheme of things, you ultimately will see cost reductions in the overall tunnel. Instead of it costing maybe 5 million per mile, you could get it down below 4 because the TBM is on site less, so you have less support required at the rear end of your machine, and ultimately that will reduce overheads considerably. So this is what Steve Davis needs to do, because Steve Davis is essentially leading the ideas process at the Boring Company. He needs to, and he already is, continuously refine and calibrate new TBMs. He's doing that all the time. Every few months they come out with a new TBM, an existing TBM is scrapped, and they then have to relearn how to use the machine because it in many ways is different, and then they ultimately progress forward, and then another machine follows that in both research, design, and then fabrication. So Steve Davis needs to pivot very, very quickly now towards a gripper unit, because if he doesn't, the question will be, well, what is your strategy for continuous mining? Because at the moment, from the outside, it doesn't appear if there is a strategy. However, without knowing the internal workings of the company and the internal meetings, it could be that they are very, very far along now with this particular gripper TBM, and that they are working on this new strategy and have been doing so for quite a while, and they're just in the process of refining it, removing any problems that they've encountered, and then pushing the machine forward. So I anticipate, based on what I know and what I've heard about this brand new Prufrock machine, that they will manufacture a Prufrock gripper version 1 in Q2 of next year. It might be that they use this on a quick test project to establish how well it works actually in Bastrop. So potentially there are some new buildings going up in and around this area. They might want to create some new connections underneath the existing road. Last time it was around 620 feet long, so it might be in their interest to do that and just test out how this machine works. The issue with Bastrop is the first sort of 20 foot of ground or strata is quite soft, so it wouldn't really work too well in this kind of environment. However, if they went further down, maybe 40, 50, 60 foot, that would be the perfect environment because it's quite hard as chalk, as hard as chalk can be. It's obviously not the hardest rock in the world, but if they did a tunnel that was maybe 2,000 feet long and were able to get down to that hard layer of chalk, they might potentially be able to set some records and really work on the machine. I believe in the right ground conditions. So I believe Las Vegas has reasonably good ground conditions for this. This is probably where we will see it first. I believe, and I strongly believe this, that they could achieve 85 meters per day in the latter half of 2025. Now, the ground in Las Vegas is quite fractured, but if you were able to do this in quite a clever way and have the ability to reset those gripper shoes if necessary in a very short period of time, maybe less than 10 minutes, you could theoretically achieve 85 meters per day. And I'm quite confident about that because the advantages that a gripper unit will provide enables you to thrust the machine forward almost 100% of the time, and you'd only really lose time to do maintenance. I also expect that they will find various issues with the original machine, and thus that will result in Prufrock Gripper version 2 in Q1 of 2026. It might be a lot quicker than that. I'm being a little bit pessimistic, but I think they need to get a move on with this because essentially for almost 4 years now they've been working on developing processes and maintenance procedures and operational procedures for a machine that can't continuously mine, and they need to make some changes. So once that comes out, I suspect they will easily achieve 120 meters per day, especially somewhere like Austin. If you could get deep enough under Austin, theoretically you could do a lot more than 120 meters per day, significantly more. But for the basis of this video, and the fact that maybe in the future someone might quote me on it, I'm going to say 120 meters. Now, continuous R&D will continue for Prufrock Gripper version 3. We're getting a bit too far in the future for me to really make any more predictions, but you'll see that occur in 2027 and 2028. This is a very, very important time for the Boring Company because they are now a well-established company that has been growing over many years, and a lot of the initial goals of the business need to be completed for new investors to come in, because at the moment they've not achieved that continuous mining. Now, they have definitely made a lot of very, very good machines and developed a lot of systems and procedures that will help them going forward, but the kind of golden egg, as it were, is introducing a new piece of equipment in Prufrock that is going to enable continuous mining. And if they are able to do that, that will silence a lot of the critics and make me personally and a lot of supporters sleep a lot better at night. Okay, everyone, hope you enjoyed that. Hope you're excited about gripper units. If you have some thoughts on gripper TBMs, put those in the comments below. Do you think that we should go back to hexagonal segments? Do you think that we should look at another potential system? Trust me, none of them exist, but pitch your ideas below. Please subscribe if you've not already done so. Consider following me on these various social media accounts. Also, a big thanks to everyone that supports the channel. Couldn't do this without you. Your continuous support is very, very important to me. Thank you very much. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. I have concerns about what the Boring Company is not doing on the face of it, but behind the scenes there could be huge amounts of things going on that we won't find out about until next year. So it might be that my fears are unnecessary. It also might be that they're doing it in a different way, and I've just not been able to predict that. But based on what I know, I'm very, very confident that what I've said in this video is pretty much 99% correct. Okay, guys, take care now. Don't be boring, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Tiger uppercut.
And with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon.